back to Vlogmas day number 6. Like I mentioned in my first Vlogmas video, I noticed that there are a few new subscribers who found my channel while I was gone for an extended period of time, and so I thought I would do a 50 facts about me video. Now, only a few of these facts are going to be bookish, so if you're not interested in knowing other stuff about me, this is not the video for you, so just so you're aware. But yeah, I will just get into it, and I will just put a number on screen every time I mention a new fact, so I don't have to say fact number 1, number 2, and so on. So my name is Madeleine, which you might already know, but what you may not know is that my mom actually named me after a character from the series North and South with Patrick Swayze and Leslie Ann Down. And Leslie Ann Down plays a character called Madeleine, and my mom really liked the name, so she chose it for me. However, because I was born in a country that no longer exists, which is the German Democratic Republic, my mom couldn't choose the spelling of my name, so she got offered, I think it was 2 versions of spellings, and she chose the one which I will put on screen, and that's how my name is spelled. I was, however, born in 1989, so I didn't really live in the German Democratic Republic much longer. I was born in September, so shortly after the war came down. However, because of that, my first language that I learned in elementary school was still Russian. And to this day I can sing the Russian alphabet. I cannot recite it because we learned it in song form, but I do remember the song and I can sing most of it, which I will not subject you to, however. I love books ever since I was a little kid, and I started reading them when I went to elementary school and learned how to read. And I remember being picked up after elementary school by my grandfather, and then at my grandparents' house I would read the children's books that they had there. I became an aunt for the first time at a fairly young age, actually, when I was 11 years old, and I was really proud to have a niece, because I was the only one in my class who had a niece when they were 11. And the reason for that is that I have 2 sisters, and they are both quite a bit older than me, so they're 13 and 15 years older than me, which is how I became an aunt so early. And actually my niece is now 19 years old. She's still just as awesome, and so are my 4 other nieces and nephews. And then when I was in high school, we actually had, for I think it was 6 months or a year, we had judo in gym class. And I managed to throw some people on the mat despite the fact that they were taller than me, which was basically everyone, because to this day I'm only 1 meter 65 centimeters, which equals 5'5". And that gave my friends all the incentive they needed to nickname me Kampfdackel, which roughly translates to fighting dachshund. So yeah, make of that what you will. One of the questions I sometimes get in my comment section is if I write myself, if I write stories myself. And the short answer is that I don't. And the little bit longer answer is that when I was in high school, I helped out at the school newspaper for a while and wrote a little Christmas story for it. So that is the extent of everything that I've ever written. But I don't have it anymore, so it's sort of been lost to the archives. I also really love chocolate. I love chocolate now, and I've loved it when I was a child. And my mom would actually hide the chocolate in the house somewhere at different spots every time. And except for one instance, I always ended up finding it, and I was like slowly taking the chocolate out and eating it. And then when there was no more chocolate left, only the kind that I didn't like as much, I would inform my mom that I had found it, and then she would find a new hiding spot and we would start all over. As a teenager, I also really loved Shakira, and I still like a lot of her music. And I mean, when I was a teenager, that was when when I was younger, that was when she first became well known in the West. And I actually read a biography about Shakira as well, because I was so obsessed with her music. However, to this date I've never been to an actual live concert, and I think that would be really awesome actually, so maybe I will have to do that at some point. And then after high school I went to the United States, more specifically to Wisconsin, for a year, and I worked there as a nanny for 4 amazing children who at the time were 2, 4, 6 and 8 years old. However, my host family was both Republican and Catholic, and I think for them, just as well as for me, it was quite a culture shock to get an atheist, left-leaning German into the household. We still got on really well, and I know for a fact, because she told me, that my host mom did not vote for Donald Trump, so that's good. I also had my first serious relationship while I was in the US, so late bloomer, I was 19. I won't say his name because he doesn't know that I have a channel, but it starts with an O, so I'll just say that. He's a lovely person and he's actually happily married now, which is great. And then during that year, I actually at one point surprised him with, I don't remember if it was his birthday gift or if it was another occasion, but he thought we were gonna go bungee jumping, and I surprised him with going parachuting with him, which he was up for. I wouldn't have, but I still chickened out and told him before we went there on the very day, so he was very surprised. Sadly, I don't have any footage to show you of that, otherwise I would have inserted that, but I don't. And then when I was back in Germany, I studied German and English literature. And with the help of some stipends, I was also able to do 2 semesters abroad during my studies. One was in Sheffield in the United Kingdom, and the other one was in Berkeley in California. I also met 2 of my 3 best friends during my studies. The first best friend I have known since elementary school, and of the other 2, one is now my boyfriend, and that is Daniel. You might have seen him in some of my other videos. And the other best friend gave me this fabulous picture of myself. These sort of golden sticks, by the way, are an Eastern German candy, so that's what that is. The first year of my studies, to help finance my studies and my living situation, I worked at Subway selling sandwiches. And then afterwards, however, I got offered a job as a student assistant at the university, which I of course took because it was better paid and it was also better hours. And then while I was studying, I volunteered for AIDS Aid, and as part of that I spoke to patients at one of the local hospitals, which was sometimes funny, sometimes sad, and I learned a lot doing that. And what I also learned, and what I think not enough people know, is that nowadays if you are HIV positive and if you are on the medication properly, you can no longer transfer the disease. So I think that's something that more people should be aware of, so I'm just throwing that in there as well. And during my studies I also started volunteering for another organization, and that is actually the one that I'm going to use for today's charity, which is Gefangeniswort. And Gefangeniswort, or if you would translate it, imprisoned word, is a non-profit organization that helps writers and journalists that are being wrongfully prosecuted all over the world. And I will link down the website below. Some of the website is available in English, not all of it, unfortunately. But if you, for example, if you want to become a member, you can become a member of Gefangeniswort for 10 euros a year, and if you're a student it's just 5 euros a year. So if that's a charity that sounds interesting to you, I will link that down below. What I also did during my studies was 3 internships. So I did one internship in a bookshop, which was the very first one that I did, and which was quite stressful because I was working at Subways at the same time, and then I was also writing lots of term papers for uni, so that was a stressful time. And then the second internship I did at the local literary center, which organizes readings and sort of literary events, and I got a lot more into contemporary German literature through that internship and just learned a lot in general. And then the third internship I did at a publishing house, and they told the professor who had recommended me that I was very capable. However, I kept running into things. I can be very clumsy, so that's what they were referring to. And the literary center that I mentioned, I actually kept working at even after the internship. So I did some volunteer work, and then I had some like smaller positions at the organization. And when I finished studying was the very first job that I took, becoming head of program there. Now, however, before I got that job, after I finished studying, I went to Mexico for 6 months. Actually, I shouldn't say I had finished studying, because while I was in Mexico, I still had to write a term paper and my master's thesis, so that was very stressful in the beginning. And even though I've been to Mexico for 6 months, I worked there at the Goethe Institute, I still don't speak Spanish that well. It didn't help that the team that I worked in was exclusively German people, so por eso solo hablo un poco de español. I can, however, speak a bit of German Sign Language, so that was the next fact. The reason for that being that Daniel's parents are both deaf, so I took some German Sign Language classes. If you didn't recognize some of the signs, sign language is actually different from country to country. You will probably, if you're fluent in sign language, you'll still be able to communicate with people from other countries, but there are some signs that differ, and you even have like regional and local dialects in sign language as well. I also have been privileged enough to be able to have been to 25 different countries. Although saying that, I do count both of the Germanys I've been in, so. And the first vacation that Daniel and I took together as a couple, that was actually to Saint-Malo, which is in France. Daniel speaks French, unlike me. And whilst we were there, we took a day trip to Jersey, one of the British Isles that is closely off to the coast of France, actually. And a lot of stuff went wrong on that trip. To name just a few, while we were on the ferry to Jersey, we realized that we'd forgotten to take pounds, British pounds, because we were so used to everything being in euros, and we had planned for a French trip, which we didn't need to get a different currency. So that was one issue. The other issue was that Daniel got seasick on the ferry. But just to name a few, there was more stuff going on there. Now, while we were on Jersey, what I really wanted to get was a picture of a Jersey cow. And we actually went into the countryside and we did see some cows, but they didn't look towards the camera. And I tried to get their attention making cow sounds. Did not work. I did eventually get a picture of a Jersey cow looking into the camera by making dolphin sounds. Make of that what you will. Another thing that Daniel and I did together with the aforementioned best friend is we went paragliding together, and I should have some footage of that, so if I can find it I will insert it here. Something I never learned is how to play an instrument. Now Daniel, however, plays the piano, so he did teach me or helped me learn, and I also taught myself, a few sort of like small easy children's songs and some other like easy songs. As a child I also got my one and only pet, which was a dog. His name was Charlie. He sadly passed away in 2014. I do have, however, I have this picture, which you might have seen in other videos in the background, because it's on my bookshelves. And yeah, he was awesome. I taught him some tricks, so he was able to do a roll, he was able to open one of the small doors we had, and he was able to walk on 2 legs. Yeah, he sadly passed away while I was out of the country, and after I started studying, he continued to live with my mom because I had moved to the city and he wasn't a city dog. But yeah, he was wonderful. What's kind of funny about that though is that I am actually allergic to dogs, and not only to dogs but pretty much any kind of animal that has fur, and also to lots and lots of plants. I just have a lot of allergies, so in the springtime and summer you'll see me sneezing a lot. And I did actually develop, partially because of that I think, I developed asthma over the last couple of years, which does run, however, in my family, so I'm not the only one. I also have been vegan for the last 3.5 years, I think it is now. And no, it doesn't mean that I think you should go vegan. You do whatever works for you. Some very random facts. If I clean my left ear, I cough. I don't have that if I clean my right ear. I have no idea why that is. If somebody has an idea, let me know. And while I was studying, I did have some stomach issues. Now, the doctors never quite figured out what it was, but to this day, I cannot drink anything that is carbonated. Something that Daniel finds weird about me is that I can eat both sweet and savory at the same time. So I will have the main dish and the dessert at the same time. We'll take a bite of one, then a bite of the other, and go back and forth between them. He finds that weird. Anybody else who does that, or am I really that weird? Something I did during my studies once is I accidentally got on the wrong train and I went to Augsburg and had to stay there overnight at the train station. Now, Augsburg is in the south of Germany. I have to this day not been back to Augsburg, and still don't know anything of the city despite apart from the train station, which is a shame. I think it's actually quite a nice city, but I just have a very bad memory associated with that. And then some bookish facts about me. If you have watched this channel for any length of time, you will not be surprised that my favorite book of all times is Wuthering Heights by Emily Bronte, but I will just throw this one in here as well. And something that I haven't mentioned before, and that I'm still not sure I should, is that I do read when I'm on the loo, which I don't know if that is weird or if quite a few people do that. I actually read quite a lot of books that way, so I think this year I have at least read 5 books while I was on the loo, like completely there. Something a little less weird maybe is that because I work in the field of literature, I have met quite a few authors. Now, a lot of these are German ones that maybe you won't know, like Abbas Chidea, Nina George, Ilya Troyanov or Nora Gomringer. But I've also met some international ones that you might have heard of. So, for example, John Mullen and Martin Walker, both of which were really great and lovely people. I also love making reading lists, and if you have followed this channel, again, if you followed this channel for a while, you will know that while I love making them, I am terrible at sticking to them. And yeah, the last one is that I know, because I counted, even though it doesn't say so on Goodreads, but it doesn't have all the books that I read as a child, but I know that I've read more than 1,000 books so far in my life, and hopefully many more. So yes, those were some facts about me. If you stuck around till the end, thank you. Either way, thank you for watching. And yeah, I don't know, maybe tell me some weird, unique facts about you. That would be lovely. Bye guys.